Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another session of the Launch and Learn series. I am Praise Benson, a junior digital marketing executive here at Futuresoft. Launch and Learn is a bi-weekly program where each staff gets to train people on topics relating to our industry. Today is your first time joining us. You are welcome. Today, Darasimi Alao, our junior web project manager, will be facilitating this session on the topic quality assurance testing strategies for website projects. Over to you, Dara.
So much praise. Again, I welcome everyone to today's Launch and Learn session. Like Pizza said, I'm Dara Simialao, and I'm the Junior Web Project Manager here at Futuresoft. And my today's Launch and Learn topic is going to be, I hope it's going to be an interesting one, as I had so much fun creating the slides, putting the slides together, and I really hope that, we are able to learn a lot today. So today's topic is quality assurance testing strategies for website projects, and is so ensuring success through rigorous testing. And today I'm going to be introducing you to what quality assurance testing in website projects really is, what the role of QA or quality assurance in web development is, the key qualities of assurance testing strategies, how to implement QA testing, the best practices you need for a successful website launch, benefits of a strong QA, and in conclusion, we are going to be going through how to ensure that high quality web projects, you get high quality web project through quality assurance. But first, I'm going to be starting with a quote from Ken Schwaber, which says, quality is not an act, it is an habit. And what does this mean? This simply means that you cannot pretend for quality. You cannot have something that is of less quality and just pretend that, oh, yeah, this thing is quality. And for people, because people are going to see through you, your users are going to see through you. So you have to cultivate an habit to always ensure quality in wherever it is, either web project, product management, any aspect of, any aspect of work that you are in. You need to cultivate this habit of always making sure that whatever it is that you put out there is of great quality. So introducing you to what quality assurance in website projects is, what the QA 101 really is. Quality assurance in website projects basically refers to a systematic process of checking and validating that your website meets specific requirements and is free of defects. What does this mean in essence? It means that when you're taking your time to develop a website, the little things that matter is checking that everything works as it should, and then it meets a specific requirement, and then like when you go live, you don't have any defects that's going to frustrate your users or lessen your conversion rates because you failed to do QA. So QA is very, very essential in every single stage of your web development, from the design to deployment. Yes. So from whether the design meets your brand identity or your brand assets are being integrated on your design, to the deployment phase of how like the user experience is going to be at the end of the day. So ensuring that your website is very functional, reliable, and provide a positive user experience, because how to measure this KPI for your successful website launch is what your users actually feel, is how they interact with your website, how it goes at the end of the day. So QA prevents a lot of issues, one of which is post-launch issues, broken links, slow performance, and security vulnerabilities by identifying and resolving problems before your websites go live. This is a key phrase: identifying and resolving problems before your websites go live. Because once your website has gone live, it means that it is open to other users to use. All of these issues that you do not detect pre-launch are now going to be an issue that is going to be out of hand for you to sort of like manage. If at the end of the day you get to solve these issues, it would have been exposed to other people. They would have seen that either they cannot complete a particular action, or your website has a slow load time, which is actually going to frustrate your users. So you need to be able to identify these issues pre-launch, and by addressing these issues early in time, your QA minimizes the risk of costly fixes and negative publicity that will lead into a successful launch and satisfied users end of the day. So I'm going to give you a real life example, right? Imagine that you launch an e-commerce site that has a critical bug that prevents your users from completing their purchase, right? You've taken your time to, do design, put up products on your website, integrate a payment integration on your website, and all of that. Basically, just doing all of the hard work, right? And because you failed to do a rigorous QA on your website before it goes live, users come to your website and then they cannot even make a purchase, right? This happened to me very recently as well. There's a wig vendor online that actually our brand a lot. I was hoping that I was going to get something from her when she wanted to do like a sales. She spent a lot of money, marketing, because I kept seeing it on my For You page online. And end of the day of the launch came, right? And we had prepared ourselves. A lot of people, have been waiting and anticipating this particular sale launch, right? And when it was I think it was 30 minutes or 20 minutes before the sale started, and our website just crashed, right? She had to make an apology video to say, oh, she's so sorry. She has contacted her website person, they're working on it. But this already frustrated me because I already, planned myself and say, oh, this time to this time, I want to shop on this website. And this can happen in any way at all. It may not be that you operate an e-commerce website. It may just be an information website, right? Where you want people to contact you. But because your forms don't work or you have broken links, all of these things don't work. You're going to have less conversion. People are not going to be able to reach you or get the information that you really need from your users. So what I'm going to do today in this webinar is to explore the critical roles of QA testing in web development, and I will highlight how it ensures website reliability and ensure user satisfaction. We'll also go into the key testing strategies that you would need, including both manual and automated approaches to catch issues early and improve overall quality of your website. And additionally, I'm going to introduce you to essential tools and technologies that can streamline testing efforts and enhance the efficiency and accuracy of your QA activities, right? All of these things are going to help you a lot. So I'm going to advise that if you haven't already, I want you now to pick a pen and a paper and start jotting things down, because there's a lot to learn from here today. So first, I'm going to go into why you really need QA, why QA is essential, the role of QA in web development. First, I'm going to highlight key QA issues, right? What are the problems that you could actually face if you fail to do QA? So I'm going to do that first and also take you through how to, solve some of these issues. In fact, all of these issues, right? So one of the key issues is design and UX issues, your user experience and design, right? You have a design that it looks great, it looks nice and all of that, but the way the user flow is, how people navigate through it, is actually very hard. Also, you need to sort of put into consideration who your target audience is. What are the people that are going to be using your website? Are they going to be, people that most people are going to use their phones to access your website, or they're going to use desktop to access your website? You need to make sure that these designs fits into various screen sizes, or they fit the responsiveness is great. I don't want to be on my desktop and then there's a hamburger button somewhere, and when I go on my phone, it's not there or it's somewhere else entirely. I want to have almost the same experience that I have on my desktop, on my phone as well. So some of these things are issues that can, arise at the end of the day when your website goes live. Functionality issues. Things that are supposed to work on your website don't work. What is the point, right? You've designed the website, you've spent time developing, you've done SEO so you can rank better, but a button doesn't work, or maybe a scroll bar doesn't work, or maybe your menu just don't work at all. These are grave issues that can affect how people interact with your website. Also, generally, right, it can also have a bad look on your brand itself. That why are these people even why do they have a website if nothing is going to work? Security issues as well, security breaches that can actually, expose the sensitive data that you have on your website. And go live issues. Go live issues is when you transfer your website to a live server and then there are things that are glitching, or things that don't work. All of these things are major and key issues that can happen in web development. And the key roles of QA in solving this issue is first, ensuring functional integrity, which basically means that it will verify that everything on your website, every single feature and functionality on your website work as intended. You will not have a view all FAQ CTA, for example, button. And when people click on it, it takes them to the home page or it takes them to an About Us page. That should not be. That is not what you intend that button to work as or where it should go. And so you need to make sure that all of these things are things that are caught up on early so you can solve them, link what CTA should go where, navigation as well. Your menus are, they are structured very well. They go to where they're supposed to go to. By catching all of these bugs and inconsistencies early, your QA would ensure that your users can interact with your website without encountering any errors or broken elements at all. So the next thing is to enhance user experience. Like I said earlier, right? At the end of the day, whether your website it looks nice or, the colors are great or, you put a lot of work into it, what determines if your website is truly successful is your user experience. It is not you that built it. It is not your internal team. It is your target audience, how they interact with it. Were they able to, get what they wanted to do on the website, what you intend for them to do on the website, were they able to do it? So QA testing would focus on the usability and performance of this website to ensure that it is intuitive, responsive, and accessible across various devices and browsers. Like I said earlier, you don't want to have, different experience with different devices like desktop, tablets, or phones as well. So you need to put all of these things in consideration and also have a rigorous testing on your website. So when you identify these issues and you address them, like slow load time or confusion in navigation, your QA will help you create a user-friendly website that meets your user expectations and basically just keep them engaged on your website, right? It's not that, I'm on home page, I want to go somewhere, it's taking me out of your website, or maybe there's an external link that should open on a different tab, but that was not done, and then it's taking me out of your website entirely. Navigation back to your website is a hassle. I, as a user, do not want to experience that, right? And so you can. Next thing is for protecting against security vulnerabilities, and this is actually very important because if you don't know, they might be sensitive information on your website that if you have a security breach, right, it can cost you legal liabilities that, you have to be penalized for or to pay rigorously to fix. So your QA testing should include security assessment. And when I say security assessment, I mean a detailed security assessment. So you can identify and mitigate potential risk that, could be expected by attackers. Hackers want to hack your website every day. You want to make sure that you are not even giving them the chance at all. So by conducting a thorough QA testing on your website, it will help you protect your sensitive user data. For example, you have a website that collects your user, say, bank verification number, for example. You do not want that, in the hands of the wrong people. So you need to make sure that your website is safe and secure. So when, users put their informations like this on your website or they enter, such sensitive information, they are not, at the risk of it being exposed or being, hacked or anything. So a security test, if nothing, is mostly important for, QA rather. Also, minimizing your post-launch issues is what QA does. So if you've been able to identify major issues before your website goes live, you'll be able to, mitigate them, fix this issue, fix bugs, and at the end of the day, you don't even need to you would also still keep conducting QA after your website has gone live, but the major issues that you would encounter if you do not do QA testing at all on your website have been mitigated and the risk is reduced. So like things like bugs, broken links, or other post-launch problems essentially, which can lead to you having to fix them costly or negative user experience or feedback. And like I said earlier, it is going to have a bad look on your brand. And we don't want that. So what key quality assurance testing strategies do you need, right? These are essential things that you need when you are conducting a QA test. I'm going to first of all present you with a problem, right? And a solution to that problem. So what inadequate QA testing can result to is in unnoticed bugs, broken links, slow performance, and security vulnerabilities that would essentially undermine the overall user experience on your website. I will keep, reiterating this every single time, I guess, because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, right, user experience is the key thing that you need, or like how to measure, success of a web project basically. So these issues often like would slip through cracks, when you are testing. If you, especially if you rush your QA, right? If you rush, through your QA, you're just doing, oh, let me check if this thing is working or this is working. You're not going through it as you should, page by page, links by links, picture to picture, text to text, all of those things, right? So it's actually going to lead into like poor user experience, and it will drive your users away. Trust me, like it will also lead to like, decreased engagement, because when I come to your website and I'm scrolling through and I want to, sort of like make an action and I can't, actually it will just make me leave there. And when other people, I would also give my testimonies or like give, feedback, and it's going to be negative reviews. And so to prevent these issues, right, you need to implement a thorough QA process. It is going to combine both manual and automated testing throughout your development cycle. When I say throughout the development cycle, it means from the design stage to the deployment stage, right? So what is manual testing? Manual testing is one of the most effective scenarios where a human touch and judgment are crucial, right? You can do automated or find, softwares that help you do QA, but it would not, again, end of day, these things are AIs, right? They are softwares. It would not give you the, user POV that you really need, right? As a user, right, if I'm going through your website, I'm doing a QA on your website, I would know that if people in my, say, age bracket are going to be exploring your website, or if they are your target audience, essentially, right? It can't be that, there is no defined navigation path in your user flow, and I'll be able to give this feedback because, I'm human, right? It is very, very ideal for you for the user interface and the user experience, how the website look, how people can seamlessly navigate through your website, right? So when you're doing a QA, you want to make sure that your testers can evaluate the look and feel of the website, right? My boss usually says something that, when she's going through something, she'll be like, this hurt my eyes, right? It doesn't look good, it looks bad. It means that if somebody can identify it's just everywhere, it's all over my face, right? Why is there no spacing here? Why is this text not justified? All of these things are very, very essential. And automated testings will not do that for you. That is why you need manual testing, a user, like a human feel when you're doing, QA. And I will always recommend that you do manual testing first before you go ahead to do automated testing, because manual testing are things that, like I said before, they are, human feel. And when it is very, very, it's very, very important, because in particularly like valuable when you're assessing aspect that requires like human intuition, like the visual consistency, or like how easy it is to navigate from one place to another, like to go through the website, and also emotional response to what the design look like. Like I said earlier, when my boss said like, okay, this looks bad, why does this not have like spacing? Why does it not have like punctuations? Like, I'm just reading through this, I don't know when to stop, I don't know what this means, it doesn't make any sense at all. So all of these things are like it can only be, given to you, or like can only be done by a human. So additionally, right, manual testing is very, very important in cases where automation is either not feasible or would be too costly and time consuming for smaller one-off tests or projects, basically. So this approach would basically allow your testers to simulate real user behavior, providing insights that are difficult to capture through automation alone. So I would usually say something when I am going through doing QA, right, that I am here. Where do I want to go for from here? I would make up real life scenarios in my head that would essentially help me say, oh, okay, if I want to fill a form, for example, a contact us form, what are the things that I want to, what are the kind of information that I mean, would require, or that you would require your users to, give you. And all of these things are basically things that would help you when you are doing manual testing. So for automated testing is very ideal for like things that are like repetitive tasks that will need you to be that will need to be executed frequently, such as like your regression tests where the same tests are run multiple times to ensure that new code changes have not like introduced bugs, or they are not affecting or contradicting other sort of like plugins or things that are on your website. So the automated site can quickly and accurately process a very large amount of data, right? So that to ensure that your website handles it correctly under various conditions. Like I said earlier, when I was making, an example of the wig vendor, right? So this automated testings would also help in like to sort of like help you assess if a lot of people are going to be using your website at the same time. Would you be having like a slow load time if there's like huge traffic during a specific time on your website, right? These things are going, the automated testing or the software are going to help you, show these things so that you can also work on them. And one thing about automated testing, like whatever's QA, whatever software you're using are also going to give you like audits, like detailed audits of, okay, this is the problem, right? And this is how to solve it, right? So when you're running the same test on different configurations, like, the automation guarantees that the website performs reliably and looks consistent, regardless of whatever the user environment are using. That's, has to do with like the responsiveness of your website on across all browsers and across all kind of like device as well. So we also have like, other testing strategies like functional testing, which is like, it basically just ensures that every single feature on your website work as you should. So the common test is like verifying that all links work, your form submission are correct, they go to the right email that they're supposed to go to, and they are, providing every single information that you need, and the user for workflows like function without any issues, So for example, when you're testing the sign up process on your website, you need to ensure that your users are receiving a confirmation email, right? So after, for example, signing up for newsletter, right, there should be an automated email that goes to them and say, oh, thank you for signing up for our newsletter. And maybe if there are other information that you want to give as well, you will be able to give them those information. So just ensure that all the details are redirected to the correct pages, like every single thing that you need are being provided, right? And these things work as they should. So another one of the testing strategy is the usability testing, right? What or why do you need usability testing? The goal is basically to ensure that the website is intuitive, is easy to navigate, and is accessible to every single user, despite the device or the browser that they're using to access your website. So the techniques to conduct this user testing session are heat maps to analyze like the behavior of like, where am my users going when they come here, right? Essentially, right, the homepage is where your homepage on your website is where people will spend most time, right? But you have like different CTAs on your homepage. Which of these things are people clicking on? Is it like the contact us or frequently asked questions? It will sort of like give you an idea of things that you need to work on or improve on, or things that you see that are working great, right? If, for example, is frequently asked questions, you will know that you want to integrate or you want to put more, frequently asked questions there so that people can, this is where people go more often on your website, right? So the security testing, right? Just basically saving the best for the last, because like I said, security testing is very, 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 very essential. I cannot, express this enough. So you need to identify the vulnerabilities and ensure that your data protection to prevent breaches and comply with regulations. This is very, very essential. You do not, trust me, you do not want a security breach on your website. You do not want, sensitive information to be leaked to the wrong hands, basically. So you need to conduct the penetration testing for your SSL checks and regular security audits, basically. So see if anything is wrong, if there's going to be going to be like a potential risk. You need to, like, QA is going to help you by going through all of these things. QA is going to help you to identify these risks, right? And also be able to mitigate them. So I'm going to be moving on to like the best practices you need when you are implementing your QA testing, right? These practices are basically effective. They're going to be effective for your QA implementation. And I'm going to go through them one after the other and sort of like explain what they do and how to basically like get them done. So the first thing is to set up a testing environment. Yeah, Feature Software. What we do is when we are doing our QA testing, right, before we move a website to a live server, we ensure that there is we do a rigorous QA testing to make sure that when we are, moving this website to the live server, not like because we've done a rigorous test on like the staging server or the testing environment, or we are sure that everything works right, and we just put it on the live server and we do not still do a follow-up QA, right? You need to set up a testing environment that is different from the server that you're building on to make sure that if anything is happening at all, you can identify it and you can fix those things. So setting up a testing environment is very, very essential and crucial for ensuring that the accurate and reliable results in your QA testing are provided. The goal is to create a staging environment that closely mirrors the production environment, replicating the elements with database, server setting, and configurations. So a common problem that would usually arise when bugs only appear in production because the testing environment don't match it closely enough, right? So how do you solve this particular problem? The solution is basically to always test in an environment that is identical to the production environment where you built on. You need to create a very, very identical staging server. So when you're testing, you know that every single thing that we do on this staging server is not like, we are fixing something here, and when we move it to the live server, the problem still persists, right? You need to make sure that the staging server that you're using basically just mirrors the server that you're producing on. So you also need to define your test cases, right? The process of defining your test cases is very, very essential to ensure that every single aspect of your website are thoroughly tested. I'm going to go at it again to say that you need to ensure that every single aspect of your website are thoroughly, rigorously tested. Test cases should also cover like different scenarios, like I mentioned earlier. You need to make up real life scenarios in your head to say that you as a project manager, right, you need to put yourself in different users' perspective. You need to always see things from different POVs, like if I'm using a tablet, for example, or for example, I'm using a Samsung flip phone, right? How will this website appear on here? Will I have the same experience as when I was using an iPhone 12, or when I was using an Android, a Techno phone, for example, right? You need to always make real life scenarios in your head. It makes you define different test cases. So a well-defined test case will help your QA team to identify the bugs and performance problems before your website even smells going live at all. So for example, right, test cases can be created to verify how your forms will behave when people fill them with both valid and invalid data. So, for example, if you have a form field that sort of like verifies email, right? You want to, if the email is wrong, you want to be able, because I might just want to impute my email, for example, and I miss a letter. If you do not have that verification, that email verification thing, it's just going to go, it's going to submit. And every time I want to send like an information, for example, like a newsletter, right? This person that imputed their email will not get it because it's a wrong email. So you need to make sure that all of these things are thoroughly checked. You need to ensure that there are different things to solve different problems in different parts of your website during your QA. So the solution to develop like a comprehensive and a clear and structured test cases that would cover both your typical and unexpected user behavior is ensuring like smooth and reliable website performance. Like I said again, your user experience is all that matters. Whether you've, done a great design, a design that looks nice, a modern design, or like you think that, oh, the menus are easy to navigate. At the end of the day, it is how your users interact with your project, with your website, that truly, truly matters. So also, you need to, in your internal team, right, you need to make sure that you have a collaborative workflow. What a collaborative workflow does for you in QA is that your developer, your testers, and every other stakeholder that are involved in the project are very, very important, right? It's very, very essential to your QA, because if if you have, like, your designer doing something and then your developer implementing something else, your stakeholders are actually like the people that would essentially use the website require something else, right? All these things are going to fail all at once, and it is going to be a very, very huge problem. So when your team work together, is to ensure that there's a clear communication. I always say something that first thing you need to know how to do as a project manager is to communicate clearly, right? Is to communicate very, very effectively. It's very easy to sort of like think about an idea in your head, or sort of like think about how a flow is supposed to work, but you need to find a way to make sure that your developer understands that. Make sure that your stakeholders understand that, right? Make sure that your testers, your QA testers understand that this is what we want the flow to look like. We want to use a traditional workflow, a modern workflow, so everybody gets the idea, and it helps you also like identify problems faster, because since you've communicated all of these things, if for example your developer identifies that, oh, this thing that you just said is not sort of like applicable in the kind of theme that we are using to build this website. Okay, what is the solution to this problem? Can we find something that is similar to this, or can we find a plugin that does this thing at the end of the day? And what you have done there is to sort of like mitigate the risk of post-launch, like when you've been able to communicate all of this is your developers, everybody, your developers, your testers, your stakeholders, everybody are on the same page. So a collaborative workflow that would involve like a regular up-to-date meeting. I was making fun of something I think earlier last week, to say that the amount of time that we spend in meetings when we are doing a project is actually like, I mean, Google should probably give us a gift or something, but it was a joke. But at the end of the day, it's like how we truly work, and how we make sure that everybody is carried along. We have internal testing, we have internal meetings rather, that we do with the web team. We have an update meeting that we do with the boss. We have an update meeting that we do with the client as well, just so that we ensure that everybody is on the same page, and everybody's carried along throughout the life cycle of the project. And whatever feedback is being given is being integrated immediately, or if it is not feasible, or if it's going to affect something, that is also communicated, so that the stakeholders are aware. You're not just doing things out of the back of your head, or you're doing things that you think is going to work and at the end of the day it doesn't, right? So a traditional workflow or a lack of collaboration will often result in like miscommunication that will lead to like things that you just overlook, or like like in hindsight, you don't see these things, and it will delay your fix. It is going to also delay your project timeline. And these are things that are very, very, very essential and very, very important in web development or any project development at all. You want to make sure that you're keeping the time, or you're doing, things as it should. So I'm going to be moving on to the benefits of a strong QA. Why do you need to invest in QA? These are the only reasons that you would need, and I hope that after we've gone through all of this, you'll be convinced enough to actually invest in your QA, in rigorous, thorough QA, right? So the first thing on my list here is fewer post-launch issues, right? So, like I said earlier, if you identify issues before your website goes live, you will be able to fix those issues there and then, right? It is going to things that are going to cost you more after you've gone live are things that you've identified and you fixed before. it saves everybody, it saves your users the frustration. It saves you, the time wasting and, cost effectiveness as well. So a thorough QA would basically reduce the likelihood of any bugs and issues that would appear on your website once your website has gone live. So you need to compare. I want to, compare two websites now, right? The launch of two similar websites. For example, maybe like two e-commerce websites. One website has undergone a thorough, rigorous QA testing, and the other one just went through a mid QA testing, for example. You would realize that the website that went through the e-commerce website that went through a rigorous testing would do well, would essentially do well than the one that went through a mid testing, because when you've been able to identify and fix issues in something, it's just like, you make a really nice design dress, right? For example, and you've sewn this dress, but you did not check whether all of the seams are right. If you're using a particular theme here, or like if the zip works right. If you wear that dress out and it gets torn outside, it is your fault, because you did not do like a quality assurance, like, testing on this thing that you've just done, right? You just sew your dress and wear it and you go out. Right. If you have a wardrobe failure in public, it would essentially be your fault, right? So all these things are things that, if you do a rigorous, thorough QA testing, you invest in QA testing to help you catch bugs early. It will help you mitigate certain, security risks, and it will also help you to ensure that your users have a great experience when they're navigating through your website. Which brings me to the improved user experience. Again, I'm saying this again, just so that to reiterate it, right, is that at the end of the day, all that matters is what your users think, what your target audience think about your website, about this, very visually appealing website that you've created. How do they react to it? How is it, or how seamless it is for them? Is it for them to navigate through your website? So a well-tested website that will offer a seamless experience, which would basically increase your user satisfaction. When I want to buy something, for example, on an e-commerce website, I go from checking, the product, to adding it to cart, to checking out seamlessly. I would want to come back. I would want to come back to use that website, right, to buy stuff. But when I'm trying to add products to cart, and every single time I add maybe it doesn't go to my cart, or I want to check out, for example, and I can't, I will be frustrated and abandon ship, basically. And you don't want this to happen to your website. Whether it's an e-commerce website or a basic information website, or imagine that you even have like a restaurant and you have like, a landing page website for your menus. People want to, you've provided, your guests a QR code to scan to, access your menu, for example. And they do that, and your website just keeps loading. It doesn't come up. I want to eat. I'm hungry, but I cannot see the menu. I get frustrated. I mean, maybe your waiter would have to physically come meet me and say, "Oh, okay, what would you like to eat? These are the specials that we have." But that is not the intended user flow or user experience that you want. So poor navigation and usability issues would frustrate users. That would lead to like a high bounce rate, and essentially you would lose sales. And to fix this, you need to conduct a usability testing and implement changes based on your user feedback, so that you can enhance their experience at the end of the day. Cost savings. Who doesn't like to, save costs in any project at all? You want to be able to mitigate certain risks that you could have foreshadowed, you could have foreseen, right? And fix before your website goes live. And it will cost you little to nothing than your website going live. And at the end of the day, you have to spend a lot more to fix these issues. Right? So identifying and fixing such issues early on to reduce the cost of like your post-launch fixes, minimize downtime, and also avoid costly emergency patches. I don't want to always go, people cannot sign up, people cannot contact me, or people cannot, sign up to my newsletter on my website. You're rushing to fix that, right? It's not a good use of your time. it's not a good use of your time. It's not a good spend of your money, right? This are money. This is money that can be channeled into something else. Say marketing, for example, right? So fixing and identifying such bugs before it turns into a major issue when you launch, right? It might require like a costly emergency patch that would really, really cost you a lot. But when you identify these issues in your QA, you would have resolved these issues with a fraction of that cost, or in fact, sometimes nothing at all, right? So what QA essentially helps you do, aside mitigating risk, ensuring that your users have a great experience, is also saving you cost. So long-term client satisfaction, like I said earlier, making the example of if I buy something on the website and it is very, very seamless, I would always go back, right? Compared to a website that every single time I want to use them, they probably have a downtime or there's traffic or because of large traffic, or I cannot check out at all, right? I mean, we're all humans at the end of the day, and we have like an emotional feeling tied to things that don't give us stress at all. That is stress free, that is seamless. So when you deliver a high quality product or you deliver a high quality web project, it should essentially build trust with your clients that would lead to them coming back again and again and again. If your users or your clients are impressed with the smooth launch phase, the user experience, the low issue that your website experience, right? So need them to recommend your service to others, right? I would always want to say, oh, you want to shop something here, go here. I use this website a lot, and it's very, very easy to navigate through. You will find what you're looking for, and you'll be able to check out on time. Everything works as it should. They even have little to no downtime, right? And when people are happy to recommend your product to people, when people are happy to recommend your website to people, it means that you are doing something good. So this would essentially bring me to the conclusion of this webinar. And so far, right, I hope you've been able to sort of pick one or two things, or I don't know, good for you if you pick everything. And the reasons why you need to do QA, things that you need to do to ensure that your QA is great, right? And some other essential tools that you need to do, or things that you need to do pre-launch, post-launch, throughout the life cycle of your project, basically, right? So, in summary, right, this in-depth look that we've had on this quality assurance in website development, by highlighting the importance, in preventing issues such as broken links, slow performance, and risk of your website getting hacked. I mean, the risk is always out there, right? But how do you mitigate this risk? How do you reduce it to little or nothing at all? Right. I've spoken about that, right? And your key testing strategies. One of the things that you need to do, one of the approach that you need to take that basically include both your manual testing, automated approaches, functionality testing, usability testing, and all of these things are best practices when you're implementing a thorough and rigorous QA process, right? We've also explored the essential strategies that would enhance your testing efficiency and effectiveness to make sure that everything works as it should. Everybody is clear on what should be happening here, what the user experience is, from your designer to your developer to your QA testers to the stakeholders, essentially, right? By focusing on all of these aspects, as a project manager or as a web developer, you've been equipped with all of this knowledge to ensure that your website runs smoothly and end of the day ensures a successful website launch and user experience. I'm going to say this for the last time as well. Your user experience is all that matters when you're measuring the success of a website launch. So that brings me to the end of this. If you have any questions, I'm going to take questions now. Thank you so much for listening through this. I hope you've been able to gain, essential knowledge that you need to run a thorough QA or rigorous QA, however, to make sure that, your website at the end of the day, does what is intended to do, and it also gives your users a great experience. So that you can also pat yourself on the shoulder and say, yes, I have done a great job in, in basically like building this project, right? Because you can do everything right, but if you do QA wrong, all of the effort that you've put in has gone to a waste. So yeah, thank you so much again.
Yeah, thank you, Dara, for that session. Quality assurance, testing is quite necessary to ensure that site visitors, they are satisfied. And I believe when all the boxes have been checked, it will reduce maybe the bounce rate on the website, and it will also help the business or the organization have more website visitors at the end of the day. Thank you for that insightful session. Please, does anyone have a question for Dara? Do we have any feedback, any comment, any question? Yeah, all right. John, thank you. You can go ahead now.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Dara, thank you for a great session. So I have a question here. So I was going to ask, right? So what are some of the key metrics? And then you mentioned, and I saw that a lot of things were around, security. First of all, broken links, just to make sure that everything needs to work.
Right.
And so from my understanding of, quality testing is to make sure that the user, right, gets what they've come to the platform for. The client also, the website is achieving that. So my question is, does quality assurance testing also extend to the part where you're looking at, so I'll give an example. You've designed a page, right? And we're thinking that, users usually see a page in isolation, right? And so we have to think about the fact that, they're coming to the homepage. They may not go to the About Us page. So do you want to bring on snippets here that would sort of interest them to go on here? So you're not thinking beyond, does this link work, to, is this in the right place, right? If clients come here, are they able to get like a wholesome experience enough to want them to click somewhere else? Or is that a different concept entirely? So just to make it clear again, right? Does quality testing end at the links work, they're not broken, your site is secure, all of that is good, right? Does it extend to a part where we don't think this banner is well placed, right? This banner is sliding. If we make the other banner slide a bit halfway into it, people can see there's a second banner, right? Does that also count, right? Or is that something that's totally different? So that's my question.
Okay. Thank you so much, John, for that question, right? So I would start by saying that when you want to develop a website, there are a lot of things that go into it, right? There's strategy, you've sort of like created a site map of what the user flow or the user experience is going to look like, right? But QA also does not end at, links work, people can navigate through this. It also, like I said earlier, right, you need to make up real life scenarios in your head. You must have, even after you've developed a website, right, and, maybe you sort of like outsource a third party QA testers and they're telling you that, as a user, I don't think, why would I want to click on this, right? Why would I want to go to this page? And these are things that are very, very important, right? Maybe there's something that you're trying to get people to look at more that is not on your own page and is on your About Us page. How do you get people to move from your home page to go to your About Us page, for example? Or if, for example, you have, a product you're trying to highlight to people, why do I want to wait to go to the product page? Why can I not see it on the slider and just click on it and say, okay, these people are having sales for this product, right? Let me click on here and go here. So quality assurance does not end at links work and people can submit forms. It also extends to what you've just described, right? There are things like, there are certain points in your project, right? You still need to move things around, especially when you start thinking from your user's perspective, right? Your user's POV. And it's also very important to carry your stakeholders along, your clients. So say that, oh, we know that you've seen this and approved this, but we think that we want people to be able to, go to other pages or see certain things. That is why we are moving this here, right? Explain to your client, your stakeholder, to say, oh, we don't think this works here, right? We don't think the FAQ not being on the home page works. We want to highlight a couple of FAQ here so people can see, oh, okay, there's a view on FAQ here that takes them to the FAQ in our page as well, but they've seen, major important questions and answers on the home page, which essentially makes them want to go into like the FAQ in our page as well to say, okay, these are more questions and answers here. But you've given them like, a teaser, for example, that sort of like takes them to where you intend them to be initially. So to answer your question generally, right, QA does not just end at that. It also extends to implementing user-generated, like user experience into your web project. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dara, for that explanation. John, I hope she has done justice to that question.
She has. Yes, she has. Yeah, it's very clear. Thank you.
All right. We can now bring this session to an end. If you have questions while watching the video, kindly drop them in the comment section. We'll be very happy to answer your questions. Do join us next time for another session and have a lovely day.